This is Lynn University, a beautiful university campus on Military Trail, right in the center of Boca Raton. It has a storied history which began in 1971 when Donald Ross, president of Wilmington College in Delaware, heard the library of Marymount College, a small Catholic college which stood on this very spot, was for sale.
Well, I really didn't know anything about Boca Raton because people used to call it Boca Raton. And our director of admission, I was president of Wilmington College in Wilmington, Delaware, which Helen and I founded in 1967. And we basically were recruiting students, and he came in and said, you know, that the little school down in Boca Raton that's up, and they're closing their doors. And so he said, you know, they're selling everything. In fact, the library books are going to be for sale. So I said, well, that's something we really are interested in. So I called our businessman, John Hanley, and said to him, we need to take a look at this. So we went down, the three of us. So three guys arrived at the Boca Tica Hotel, and we stayed there, and we came over here, and the sisters were here, and there was about 100, maybe 150, 200 students. So we came down and we met with the order, and we said we were looking to buy your library and to recruit students. So we had this, John went out recruiting the young ladies, and I sat down with our businessman, Rich Hanley, and to talk about how much. They said, well, why don't you take the whole school? They literally said that. I said, oh, wait. They said, oh, I think we can work that out.
When you came down, was that the first time you'd come down here?
First time to camp, yes. First time they'd been to Florida. Well, there was no grass. They couldn't afford to fix the sprinkler system, and but it had all these beautiful lakes. I called Helen on the telephone. She should probably tell you that part of the story.
He said, Helen, this is so beautiful down here. You must come down and see it. And then he started to tell me his negotiations and so on and so forth. Helen, it has 5 lakes. Well, I was really looking forward to seeing these 5 lakes. Well, I came down, I said, Don, these are not lakes, they're ponds. Which they were. So anyway, then you continue now.
At that point, you were still living up there.
Yeah, we were running a school. I was president of Wilmington College. And we said we would arrange an agreement with Wilmington and take over the college. Went back to Wilmington. The Board of Trustees agreed for a merger of the two schools, not a merger, but an affiliation between the two colleges, and that students could complete their 2-year program. And our students could spend part of their time in Florida. And I said, that's going to be a great attraction, and it was. So, especially the fact that there were all ladies, or a lot of our young men were very interested in coming down to Florida. And many of those students had already been to Florida, to Miami, and to Fort Lauderdale, so they were aware where it was. So that's basically how we got down here. That's how we came to Florida, and it was because of that. So.
Was the city welcoming to you?
It was still a small town. I mean, it was you never locked your car, you never locked your door. It was no 95. There was no Yamato. We watched
It stopped at Glades Road, which was just...
Well, Military Trail ended at
Glades Road.
Glades Road, and that's where you turned. And it was a meandering road into the town.
Way out west, they finally opened a 7-Eleven. And I said, oh, Don, guess what? I can get milk now for the baby. He was just an infant, you know.
And you had to go down to Pompano.
I had to go down to Pompano to buy clothes for the kids and for myself.
Did you enjoy the life down here?
Well, I think we were leading a comfortable life in Wilmington, and to make that change was a big decision. Maybe another lady would have walked out.
I can't say I disliked it. It was busy. We were busy, and I tried when the young people say, well, how did you meet this person? How do you know these people? And I said, it just happens. You just have to let it roll and let it happen.
We wound
basically, that's what we did, yeah.
We wound up basically meeting people that were here during the winter. And one of them was a guy by the name of Lynn.
Eugene Lynn, a successful insurance executive, had relocated from Kansas City to Boca Raton in 1971. He built a strong friendship with the Rosses, and when Lynn learned in 1974 that the college might need financial help, he stepped forward.
And then he came to the office one day, at the end of the year, and said, his wife and I would like to meet with you. And he handed me a check. And I thought it was $10,000, $100,000. And that was the beginning of a relationship where the Lynns have been absolutely unbelievable. But then Marion and Perper and her husband, they have been extremely generous. If you look around the buildings, so we've had some wonderful, wonderful, Steve Snyder. We've had some wonderful people help this institution grow. There were people in the early days that were who are gone now, and but they were the original people we met and we'd be invited to have dinner with them, and we were lucky we had grandmas who came down and took care of our children, and as we were out, and 3 nights a week it was black tie. I mean, it was a different world. But I had to go to work the following morning at 9 o'clock. It was just a different place. I mean, you'd go down to the beach and cook dinner, and your neighbors would be down the street, because it was a small little town. I'm trying to, I think it was 5,000 people maybe. I don't know the exact number that was in 1971, but it was a small town that really disappeared in the wintertime. There was nothing.
Built up.
See, Military Trail was a 2-lane highway, and that's how you got to the airport. And we basically...
They had the string bean fields. But
string beans. We were the winter capital of the, Florida, I think, may still be the winter capital for vegetables and stuff for the country. So, but that was it. There was nothing here.
And to get the kids ice cream, we had to go all the way over across Federal Highway to get them an ice cream cone.
So there wasn't very much in town, but every time we turn around, it'd be a whole new development.
It's actually hard to visualize today, especially for someone who didn't see that.
When we walk around to find what has changed even in the last 5 years, I mean, it's amazing. Boca Raton has become a major city. I mean, it's and a very popular. It even wound up getting the Bright Line, which everyone thought, oh no, they'll bypass Boca, but they sure did not, because it's become a destination that's very popular with people.
I have to tell you, though, Military Trail, you'd see little children in their bare feet running out. There were a lot of, what kind of farms?
Dairy farms.
Dairy farms and farms. And the little kids, you had to be careful of hitting a little kid, It was cute.
And there was no traffic. I mean, very little traffic. And then come usually around December or January, and then April, it's gone, and they all would head home. But there was a population here, and then all of a sudden, when Arvida came, then there was a whole flux of new homes, and you had doctors, lawyers, accountants.
The Arvida Corporation entered the scene in the late 50s. It was a major developer of commercial and residential properties. The population soared. The Lynn staff and faculty grew too. Mrs. Ross and a friend came up with the idea of creating a computer camp. Pine Tree Camps was formed.
I saw a sign that somebody was going to start a camp out on...
Not here, but it was out here somewhere.
Yeah, and so I said, oh, well, we're going to start a camp too. That would be the start. And then there were a lot of faculty members. There was nothing here to do. So they were very interested. And so we started with about 26 kids the first year.
And as I mentioned to you, that there were doctors and lawyers, and all of those people came from all over, a lot from Miami, but also all over. And they were used to going to a children's camp. And so when Helen advertised in the papers a camp, she started getting all these people coming in. So it went from 26 students the first year to, I think it's 3,000 students now. It was a need that the community had all these people coming in. They couldn't leave and go up like most of the people that were living on the ocean or at Royal Palm. So they were men and women who were professionals with children, and they had nothing. What are they going to do with their children? And so having the camp, it became extremely popular.
The university continues to grow with a world-class business school, a music college, a state-of-the-art student center, and gym. Lynn University today is a testimony to the Rosses' commitment to education and to a lifelong dream.
The dream, and it was a dream, and the dream came true as far as we're concerned, and we're very fortunate, very blessed really, to be able to say that we're still here to watch what has happened. A lot of our friends who have passed away really played an awful part in making this happen as well as us, and we're thankful to them and to you and to all the faculty and staff. And most of our students, because they become very successful. 4 of them or 5 of them are now trustees of the school.